Alright guys, here we are for the first episode of our new YouTube cooking channel where we're going to be bringing you healthy, fix-approved recipes, new ones every week, and we're going to start it out, because it's that time of year, pumpkin spice muffins. Oh, and stick around for after the end, because I'm going to throw in a little bonus recipe, a little quick way to finish these off if you want. So it's fall, it's that time of year, everybody wants pumpkin spice. Some people love it, some people hate it. I think the people that hate it because a lot of times it's done poorly, it's done very artificially. We're going to keep it light today, we're going to keep it all natural, it's not going to be obnoxious pumpkin spice. These muffins are tender and delicious, they're gluten-free, they're fix approved. Let's get going. Oh, it's also super easy, we're using a blender today. Now some people might think like, blending muffin batter, you're going to make the muffins tough. This is a gluten-free batter, so we don't have to worry about that. You're not going to overdevelop any glutens. Now I'm starting off with, I use Bob's Red Mill Red Label flour. The reason I tell you that is because different flours behave differently, and I want you to know what I'm using. That way, if you want, you can go out and get the exact same thing to get the exact same results. If you use a different flour, it can vary a little. You might need more liquid or less liquid, something like that. If you are using a regular traditional flour that has gluten, don't do it in the blender. Do it in a bowl because it will get tough in the blender. So we're going to go in with our dry ingredients. There's my flour. You obviously don't need all these bowls that I have. I do this just to give you guys a visual of what we're doing. You can, go right into your blender with all these ingredients. I've got light brown sugar. Of course, our pumpkin spices. So we got cinnamon, clove, and nutmeg. And then I have salt, baking powder, and baking soda here. Now, sometimes people wonder about that. Why would you need both powder and soda? They react differently in the oven. The powder reacts to heat, the soda doesn't. The soda only reacts to acid. So basically, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to do is get a dense muffin that is very moist, and I don't want it to overinflate in the oven and get dried out in the center. This pumpkin spice is the kind of thing that you want it to be denser, you want it to be a little chewier. So I'm using a combination of the powder and the soda. Now what I want to do is just a couple pulses to get these dry goods mixed together, and then we'll move on to the wet. So dry is in. I'm going to pulse it a few times. That was more than a pulse, but that's okay. Now wet is going in next. We have all-natural pumpkin puree. This is no sugar added, no spices added, just pure pumpkin. That's all we want. We add what we want to it. Going in. Next I have some coconut beverage. This is from the carton, not the can. Canned stuff is higher in fat. We're keeping our fat down here. I've got some melted ghee. And then 2 eggs. I always default to large eggs, just so you guys know. If you get jumbo, that's going to be bigger, so it's going to change things. So for these fix-approved recipes, we always use large eggs. All right, we're going to blend it up. I'll probably have to scrape down the sides a little bit. No big deal. Scraping down the sides. Again, it doesn't matter. You're not going to overmix because it's gluten-free. Make sure you get any dry spots. They can be a little stuck to the bottom. All right, there it is. Nice and easy. Pull in my muffin tin with muffin liners. I like to use one of these little scoops, the ice cream scoops. It just helps me get the batter in pretty evenly. You don't have to, of course. We're going to divide it evenly among these 12 containers. So, we'll go through, and then when we have a little leftover batter, we'll top things off to make sure it's all even. Alright, so I'm just going to use my scraper to get any extra batter, and I'll go to the ones that look like they're the least full. Alright, muffins are ready to go in. We got our oven at 375. It's going to take about 20 to 22 minutes. We'll use the old toothpick test. If it comes out clean, we know they're done. Alright, the muffins are done and they smell fantastic. I can't wait to eat them. We're going to let them cool a few minutes just so I can handle them, move them to a wire rack to cool completely, and while they're cooling completely, we'll work on our bonus recipe. Alright, these are cool enough to handle, or I'm going to call it cool enough because I want to try one. Let's give it a try. Let's go ahead and crack into this guy, huh? Look at that. Beautiful. It's moist in the center. Smells delicious, that pumpkin pie spice, but it's all natural pumpkin pie spice. Like I said, not that kind of obnoxious fake stuff. Let's just give it a try. Really good. Great breakfast muffin. Not too sweet, but a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of richness from that ghee. Very moist, very dense interior, which I like in this kind of muffin. I mean, perfect to have with coffee in the morning on its own. And if you want to be a little bit more decadent, for just half a yellow more, I'm going to show you right now how to whip up this amazing whipped ricotta icing. But if you're not going to add the icing, you're coming in at 1 yellow and 1.5 teaspoons, which is amazing for a muffin this delicious. So this icing couldn't be easier. We've just got some ricotta cheese, a little bit of powdered sugar, a little bit of white vinegar to bring some zip to it, and then some vanilla extract. Nothing else. We're going to whip it up in a little blender. I'm using one of these like mini blenders. These things work great, especially for fixate recipes where a lot of times we're making smaller amounts of something like a frosting, and when you try and do it in a full-size blender, it can be tough. So these are great to have around. If you don't have one, you can use your full-size blender. You're just going to have to scrape it down a little bit more. Also, food processor works great for this too. I am now looking at the container I have my powdered sugar in and going, I'm going to spill this, aren't I? Let me see if I have a funnel. Bingo. One drawback of the mini blender, not a super wide mouth. All right, vanilla is in, followed by our vinegar. Gonna get our lid on. We'll blend it up, see what comes out. Alright, so you want to blend that for a good minute because you really want to whip that ricotta. Now you may see that I have what looks like a very tiny container right here, and I do. It's not going to fit all of this. The idea is, let me grab a muffin. I want this to be filled up so I can dip my muffin in it. So I'm using a smaller container and I'll just refill it as I go. You can see this is an icing, not a frosting. The difference being that this is a little thinner, which we want for this because we don't want to have a ton of it on. Like I said, I only wanted to bring you another half a yellow, so it bumps you up to a yellow and a half for this whole recipe if you dip it. So we're not going with a really strong, thick frosting. We're just going to have a nice icing. It's going to bring that extra sweetness. And let's see how it is. Give it a try. Get the top in there. Just like that. And you can set these aside and it will like harden up a little bit as it sits, but I'm just going to give it a try right now. Oh man. Guys, that takes it to a whole nother level. There's not that much, just a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of creaminess and richness on top. Really bumps this thing up into dessert territory. We had a muffin before that was great for like coffee, breakfast. Now we're into more of a decadent dessert. But again, only 1.5 yellows and 1.5 teaspoons. Man, that is so good. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm really happy to finally be doing this YouTube channel. I've been wanting to do it for a while. I want to bring you some new Fix8 recipes every week. Everything is Fix approved. Everything is going to be containerized. And all the containers, the ingredients, and the steps are listed below in the description, so you can follow along at home without having to watch the video. And of course, it's a YouTube channel, so please like and please subscribe if you want more, because we need followers to keep it going. The more followers we have, the more recipes we can bring you, so smash those buttons. Thanks, guys.